I've got 3 examples I want to show you of how you can mix distorted rhythm guitars using the new Black Salt Audio's Telos Guitars plugin. This is the first example. The second example . And our third example here. Going back to that first example here, I'll quickly show you these guitars in solo. There's a lot happening here, right? So I'll show you everything about this plugin. First up, we have a bunch of frequency-related controls in the top row here. So we have our low frequency with the frequency slider. We can color boost, and we can choose whether that's a bell or a shelf EQ here. For the mid-range, it's always going to be a bell, and we can choose our frequency over here, and we can, color boost. Same thing for the high end, except here we can just pick between presence or top end and the amount, and then we have our deharsher over here, which is self-explanatory, as is the chug control. That makes sense. We've got some overall compression here, saturation with a bunch of different flavors, and then we have our output and input and high pass, low pass stuff over here. So I figured the best way to show you what this plugin does and how it works and everything was really just to load up a new instance and just mix these guitars from scratch and show you how easy it is. So I'll just quickly get a new plugin here. I've got these channels linked, so every time I do something on the left channel here, it will kind of automatically copy that to the right channel. Let's just dial in a guitar tone here. Let's go. So I'm really bringing up that mid-range there because I feel like with a lot of these open nodes, I'm getting a lot of definition and clarity by just enhancing that frequency range where those notes are located, right? So it's really that like dark down, that kind of area that I'm trying to emphasize here. And as soon as I cut it, we just lost all that clarity, all that definition. So great first step there. I still feel like the guitars are pretty dark right now, so I'm gonna boost a bunch of top ends. I'm kind of afraid to overdo this, right? Because we're obviously introducing a lot of harshness in this guitar tone as well. So let's see if maybe we can kind of find a nice combination between the high boost and the deharshing. Maybe a little bit less of that mid-range, but yeah, luckily the deharsing is doing a decent job here, getting rid of the worst kind of ear-piercing stuff here. Now we've definitely thinned out the guitar tone, so I'm gonna boost a bunch of low end again. So we can basically go from like the sub low end, which we usually don't really need, all the way down here to like the lower upper mid range. Actually, we get close to the mid range here. But what I'm really looking for is, that I have this kind of futso thing going on, which is basically an octaver giving me an octave below, and it kind of blends that in very subtly. And I kind of want to enhance that sound here. So that's what I'm basically looking for. I'll just lower the volume a bit, by the way. All right, let's lower it a little bit more. Now I've basically boosted 3 bands here, and a lot of people will see this and think like, you're just raising the volume as a whole, which is not the case at all. I'm basically picking 3 sweet spots here that I want to emphasize in this guitar tone and leaving everything that is not giving me a massive wall of guitar sound low end or a lot of definition in that mid-range or that kind of nice shiny kind of top end. Everything that is not that is basically being left behind. And everything that I want to kind of emphasize as being, I like this, I like that, and I like that. That's what I'm doing here with the plugin. So as you can see, there's a lot more happening than simply getting more volume out of this. Let's check out some dynamic stuff now and some saturation. First I'll do some chugging control, because I feel like there are a couple chugging riffs earlier on in the song here. Yeah, a couple chugging things going on here. Let's try again. Luckily, this guitar tone is not really going overboard, so maybe one of the other examples I'll be able to show you the chug control a little bit more. But for now, it's doing a decent job here. It's basically, you know, the Andy Sneap trick, you know, where it's just a low band compressor kind of taming the build-up that you get when you're doing the heavy chugging there. That's what this is doing with just one knob. Super easy. Overall compression, let's see what that sounds like here. I feel like for most of the more like heavy guitars, the sweet spot for the amount of gain reduction is around that -3, so that you kind of get a nice glue and more like cohesion, but not really a super aggressive pumpy sound yet. Because if we crank this up, we will get more of like a pumpy sound, and it starts to sound as if it's being artificially held back by like a wall, right? I don't really enjoy that sound on guitars too much, but I do enjoy a bit of glue, a bit of, like I said, just cohesion, you know? So around -3 happens to be the sweet spot in most cases here. Now saturate. This is amazing. I really love what this is doing. Smooth is more like full band saturation, so it enhances the entire signal. Inflate, if I'm not mistaken, focuses more on the lower mids and kind of brings those up, and focus focuses more on the upper mids and kind of emphasizes that area. So let's see what smooth just sounds like here. Actually really like what that's doing, because it's basically giving us more of the same sound, which is obviously what saturation kind of is as well. Let's check the other modes here. Inflate. So with the inflate mode here, we definitely get a little bit more of the open that kind of sound, you know. I like it, but in this case we don't really need it maybe. Let's see what focus sounds like. It's actually a little bit more that honky mid-range, which we've already done enough of with that mid-range boost. I think I like smooth the best in this case. Definitely want a healthy amount of that in the mix here. Let's see what our before and after sounds like. That's great in solo, so let's see what it sounds like in the full mix, obviously. As soon as we put the drums and the bass and everything in, I immediately felt like the guitars are dark, but they also need more low end. So I'm just basically having to do more of all these things we've just been doing. So and they need to come down in volume a little bit more. Absolutely love this. Let's check out one of the other songs now. Alright, this is the second example here, and this is probably not the most polished sounding, which is on purpose, right? I wanted to show you like a polished sounding one, a little bit more raw, like hardcore-ish sounding one, and more like a rocky version, which is going to be the third example here. But yeah, check out this the guitars here, and I'll bypass the Telos Guitars plugin, and then we'll probably just dial it in from scratch again. So yeah, that's again a massive difference. In this case, I actually have these 4 guitar tracks all routed to the bus, and that's where I'm going to be doing the processing on, just because it's a little bit easier in this case. Here we go. So let's dial in. Let's put up a new insert here, and let's check out these guitars in solo. Here we go. And let's start mixing. Here we go. Kind of want to emphasize those jugs, that low end in the palm mutes a bit more. Maybe over there. I'll probably have to make the judgment call about this when we're listening to the full mix again. But for now, I think that's okay. A little bit more upper mid-range in this guitar tone to get more of the, I guess, the pig scraping sound out of it almost. And of course, probably more presence or top end because it's still dark. Probably liking the presence on this one a little bit more. Because in this case, it's just a little bit more aggressive and not as clean sounding, which in a genre like this works really well. So let's try that first. And if we're not happy with that, when we put the rest of the instruments in, we can always change to top here. Don't want to do a ton of jug control here because I want to keep a healthy amount of that low end kind of build up sound almost in there because that's really what's going to make this mix sound big, obviously, but also it's going to make the low end sound a bit wider because, you know, when we get rid of all the low end from the guitar stand, everything is just going to be down the center. But I like it when the low end kind of flows out to the sides a little bit more. So I want to keep a healthy amount of this low, like chugging sound in there. Really like what that's doing. A little bit more compression. Don't think we even have to touch that because apparently with the input we're already kind of hitting the sweet spot there, which is totally fine. Let's see what kind of saturation we like on this one. Not the smooth one. Let's see what else. Okay, the inflate definitely, again, just emphasizes these palm mute sounds a bit more, which I do like, but maybe the focus one, but just a little bit here. Yeah, I feel like it gets a little crunchy with the focus here, so maybe just go smooth. I changed my mind again. Focus is probably the best one in this case. Okay, and then we lower the output a bit. So that's what we started with. And when I engage the plugin, I immediately feel like we're not doing enough here, especially when it comes to boosting presence and top end maybe. So in solo, it can sound a bit aggressive, so be careful to not go overboard with the de-harshing or like put another plugin after this where you're going to notch out all these frequencies, because again, in solo, it might feel a little too aggressive, but when we put it in context of the full mix, we're going to lose sight of all of these problems here, so check it out. Yeah, I'm probably happy with the decision to go with presence instead of top end here, because it just has an aggressive feel to it, which this song and this genre totally needs. So very happy with this one. Let's check out a more like polished, kind of modern rock example now. Let's check it out. Alright, these are more straightforward guitars, right? Just some power chords. Let's check them in solo. Making a massive difference here. We're probably just going to dial these in from scratch again so that we can really see that process unfold in front of you. So, new plugin. These channels are linked again, so whenever I'm doing something on the left, it will copy that to the right. Let's see what they need. Let's start in solo again, make some big changes or whatever we need, then put it in context of the mix, do some fine tweaking. Let's check it out. I love starting with that mid-range boost. It just gives you so much more clarity and definition with just one little thing here. 5 seconds. Massive difference. Still feel like they're kind of dark, so probably a little bit of top end. It does get a bit harsh, so maybe we can again find a nice balance between boosting highs and, you know, deharsing at the same time. Yeah, luckily deharsing is doing a good job here to get rid of the most ear-piercing frequencies while we still get bright guitars, which is what I was looking for here. Now I feel like we need that kind of Nickelback-ish kind of low end on the guitar, so let's see where we can find that exactly. That's basically what I'm talking about, right? That kind of sound. I love this, but it's uncontrolled right now because it's kind of going all over the place. The open notes don't have nearly the same amount of low end as these big chugs have over here. So yeah, we'll definitely have to control that here. Maybe even a bit more. That's more like it. I'm totally cool if the low end builds up a little bit, because I kind of want that to happen. If it just stays completely flat, I think it's going to be very boring and not very dynamic sounding, but more sterile or something. I don't know, just not exciting. So I'm cool to keep it moving a bit, but I do want it controlled so that it doesn't blow up your speakers, right? Bit of extra compression, again, sweet spot around 3, just looking for glue and cohesion. And let's see what kind of saturation we like, but first let me bring the output down a bit. Let's see, what do we like here? Smooth sounds okay, let's see what inflate is doing. Feel like that actually gives me too much low end and it starts to get a bit undefined again. Let's see, focus. Probably like focus best here because it just gives me even a bit more of what this is already doing, right? That clarity and that definition in the mid-range. So this is a good starting point. Yeah, we're doing a lot there, which is great. Let's check it in the full mix again, see if we need to do some fine tweaks here. There we go. I think that is pretty much mixed here. I love what it's doing. So there we go. We have 3 very different guitar tones in very different genres and circumstances, all perfectly mixed with the new Telos Guitars plugin. You can get it now as a member of the Artist Pass. So click the link below and I'll see you inside the community over there.